Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Hello, dear friends. Welcome to another daily prayer moment. I am Correa, and we are here live, choosing to think the good, visualize the good, feel the good, speak the good, and share the good together. As we make this conscious choice, dear friends, our home becomes an outpost of divine hope to all of those around us in both realms, to our neighborhoods, to our cities. So as we nourish our very souls, we also put ourselves in service of the greater good, as well as we choose to humble ourselves and acknowledge the greatness of God in sustaining literally every breath that we take. Our dear Emmanuel, the guardian angel of Chico Xavier, recognized the greatness of prayer as an opportunity for us to be in conscious communication with God. This is why the mentors of Kardec Radio have selected for us to read a message which Emmanuel entitled Prayer. In this message, Emmanuel teaches us how to pray. And so it is with much gratitude to the mentors of Kardec Radio, to Emmanuel, and everyone who embraces the Christ consciousness that we prepare ourselves to read the message. After we read the message, dear friends, we shall bring a couple of highlights, propose a therapeutic exercise, and end this moment with a prayer of gratitude, practicing the very exercise that Emmanuel proposes to us. So thank you, dear friends, for joining us. Thank you, Beth Cruz. It's so wonderful to be here connected together and consciously with the good. Thank you also to everyone who our eyes cannot see, but we are certain are collaborating with this current of divine light and hope wherever they may be. Right, John De Rosa? Always spreading the good, dear friend. Thank you for joining us. Let us now learn from Emmanuel how to consciously pray as an act of gratitude, love, and humility before God. Emmanuel, in his wisdom, has much to teach us. Let us hear directly from him. This message, should you like to follow along, can be found in English in the Spiritist Magazine, issue 35, page 35. Emmanuel then begins the message in the following way. Lord, teach us to pray without forgetting to work, to give without looking who is receiving it, to serve without questioning until then, to suffer without hurting anyone, to progress without losing simplicity, to sow the good without thinking about the results, to forgive without conditions, to march forth without counting the obstacles, to see without malice, to listen without corrupting the topic, to speak without hurting others, to understand our brothers without asking to be understood, to respect others without asking for their consideration, to give the best of ourselves, in addition to fulfilling our duties without requesting recognition. Lord, strengthen in us the patient with the patience with the difficulty of others, like we need others to be patient with us. Help us that so that we don't do to others what we don't want for ourselves. Help us most of all to recognize that our higher happiness is that we will fulfill the designs you have for us, where and how you want it, now and forever. So be it. What a enlightening prayer. What a beautiful and honest conversation with God. Emmanuel in this message teaches and inspires all of us to develop an honest relationship with God, where we put God first, where we acknowledge God's superiority, where we acknowledge God as the one supreme intelligence of the universe, where we do not slave God to our designs, expecting God to be like a genie of the lamp, as we see in Disney movies for children. Emmanuel is inviting us to foster a more mature relationship with God, asking not that our will is fulfilled, but rather that God's designs for us come into fruition, not asking that our hopes are met, but rather asking that we become a beacon of hope for others, not asking that others conform to our expectations, but rather that we see ourselves as instruments of the divine in other people's lives, and rather that we see in others the divine in them as well. Emmanuel does not behave like a child, asking that the problems, the difficulties, the hardships disappear as if God were a magician, but rather Emmanuel recognizes God as the most perfect educator in the universe and trusts that God has designed the most suitable educational plan for each and every one of us in this reincarnation. So Emmanuel knows that if God deprives us of something we wish for, it is not because God is punishing us, beloved friends, but rather that God is educating us. God is allowing for us to acquire immortal virtues. How shall we, dear friends, acquire, for instance, the immortal virtue of renunciation? Learning to renounce if something dear to us is not temporarily taken from us. How shall we exercise this particular muscle of the soul? Also, how shall we develop patience if we are not given the opportunity to serve those who are in a different mindset than our own? If we were only invited to live with those with whom we have perfect affinity, then perhaps we would not have as many blessed opportunities to develop these virtues of renunciation and patience. Recognizing the importance of developing virtues for the spirit, Emmanuel then teaches us that we can, when we pray, ask for courage to undergo difficulties, to learn the lessons rather than escape from them. Emmanuel tells us that when our expectations are not met, we are blessed because that helps us to practice faith. If everything goes smoothly in life, we may not have as many opportunities to practice faith. So Emmanuel prays, counting his blessings in situations in which most of us would find pain and burdens. So, what a beautiful training Emmanuel is inviting us to engage in. Emmanuel, now under the guidance of the Christ, is acting like our personal trainer. Master Jesus is the ultimate master and coach of the soul, and Emmanuel is one of the personal trainers working under him. So Emmanuel is inviting us to look at the hardships in life and learn to see them as opportunities for immortal growth. Emmanuel is inviting us to reinterpret the difficulties in our lives as stepping stones for us to grow morally and spiritually. Can we, dear friends, recognize in the so called difficulties of our reincarnatory plan thus far an opportunity for us to grow spiritually? For instance, many of us who are aging physically may see ourselves as a burden to others, or may not understand why our body is aging. But it is but our choice to feel saddened. We who know that the spirit is immortal shall celebrate every stage of life, knowing that God is granting us the wisdom that we didn't have before. And because we are aging physically, we can have the authority to share this wisdom all the more with others. We can choose to feel like we are slowing down, or we can choose to feel as though we are blessed for having another day on the earth. And rather than saying, what is the point since we are aging? We can say, great, God has granted us one more day. It must have a divine purpose. Our mission today is to find this divine purpose. And it is with this mindset that Emmanuel invites us to establish a relationship with God through the act of prayer. Right, André Rodrigues? I agree. We agree. The mentor spirits on high are simply amazing. Thank God we have access to Spiritism, and Spiritism literally, this knowledge, this light of discernment, changes the way we embrace life. I agree, André. We all agree. Spiritism is simply great. So let us now, dear friends, practice the very exercise Emmanuel is proposing by engaging in an honest and humble prayer together, exercising this heart to heart relationship with the Creator. Shall we? Let us then put some music in the background to facilitate our feeling of God's presence. Give us just one moment and let us then pray. Beloved God, we are so grateful for Master Jesus and all the great educators of the Spirit working under him in your name to enlighten us. As Emmanuel has proposed, please grant us the courage to learn from difficulties. Grant us the patience to not have our expectations met and yet offer the best of us to everyone. We thank you for the many opportunities you grant us every day to practice understanding rather than to be understood, to practice loving rather than to be loved, to practice serving others in your name rather than expecting to be served. We are tired, dear loving God, of being egocentric. For many centuries, we have focused solely on ourselves. So we pray for the discernment to see in others your divine presence, to see in so-called problems the opportunities you grant us to develop higher awareness of your purposes for us. Most of all, dear God, thank you for saying no to us when we selfishly try to focus solely on our own goals. Thank you for teaching us to redirect our attention to the divine in our lives. We pray so that through your love we have the strength to fulfill our reincarnatory plans as you have lovingly designed them. And it is with the purpose of serving you in mind that we visualize our beloved Master bringing healing baskets of love to all of those imprisoned, either physically, mentally, or spiritually, for all of those suffering from addictions, all of those imprisoned by sadness and despair, and most of all, dear God, we pray so that the healing baskets of love reach the hearts of those who do not yet accept you as the sole source of wisdom and love in the universe. We know you love us all, and we pray for courage, openness, and humility, dear God, to love you in return. With much gratitude for this most precious life and for the gift of reasoned faith, through Spiritism. We ask you, dear God, loving Jesus, and wonderful mentors, for permission to finalize these prayerful moments. And so be it. What a blessing, dear friends, it is for us to open our hearts to God. So, this is our invitation for tonight, to have a conversation with God, recognizing God's greatness, and also practicing spreading God's love through our thoughts, feelings, words, and actions, considering our greatest honor to be of service to others. Let us be a living prayer as proposed by Emmanuel. And with much gratitude, dear friends, we invite you to stay tuned right here to Kardec Radio, where, right, John Da Rosa, we are always together, nourishing our souls. Thank you, beautiful friends. Many blessings, and we look forward to seeing you again next time. Bye for now.